It'll take you about $30,000 to $50,000 to set that grow up. Your average kilowatt peaks at about 10,000 to 25,000 per month. The typical household, between 500 and 800 kilowatts. Just yesterday, I had a fireman from Pueblo West saying that their lights were flickering, had been flickering for a week or so in the firehouse. And we're like, hey, what's going on? And Black Hills Energy says, there's a huge demand on our electricity.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what? Average skills, 1 pound. I mean, I'm being very conservative on my numbers, folks. 1,900 pounds a day. And you can make a lot of money. You drive to the East Coast, you can quadruple it. Anytime you see marijuana, you see money, you see additional drugs, and you see guns, from our perspective, when we go into a house. And now, we're having to go into Tyvek suits. These houses that we were busting last year and this year, we just got an outside grow, usually because this is the harvest time for outside grows. These are not shanty houses. These are nice homes. They're literally coming up here and paying cash. Our real estate guys love it. You can't find a place in Pueblo, America. And that you used to have houses for sale everywhere, right? Out in the county, you can't find one. Right? They're paying $10,000 to $20,000 over asking price in cash. Real estate markets love it. Our electricians are getting rich. Trust me. This one here we took down, and I just put this in here, right here where the arrow's at. A little girl cut the butts every morning right there. And that's the point where you could smell the marijuana emanating from that house. 6-month-old baby in that house. This is what it's doing to the homes. This is the grow house damage. The mold that we're seeing in homes that we're taking down that have illicit grows in it. Look at the mold that's bleeding out of the foundation there. Warping the siding. We took down one in Pueblo West that had a swimming pool they were using as their water source. These big fans in the grow house damages up here, these are all exhaust fans. And everybody says, well, how did you know they were growing in there? Well, number one, if you can't smell it, it's got 3 exhaust fans coming out there. In law enforcement, we call that a clue. So we go in there. They're tearing up the stairs. They're blowing holes in the walls because they have to vent the stuff out. It produces so much heat and so much moisture that they have to get it out, especially if they're doing a basement grow. Right? They're not hard to find. The ventilation. And they have industrial-sized air conditioners. Really? For a 1,400 square foot home? The bad stuff was the butane hash oil manufacturing that they were doing. They're blowing themselves up, catching on fires. We had some grass fires that were started. We had a transformer blow next to a house. Transformers just don't blow. So again, clue. And it started a heck of a grass fire, about a 2-acre grass fire. And sure enough, right next to the guy was plugged into the transformer, there was a marijuana grow. So these are just some of the marijuana homes that we've taken down. And again, remember, when I first started this, the industry hated me. Oh, why are you picking on these guys? It's just marijuana. But you know what? That took about a week. And then they figured out, hey, we want all the illegal ones out of here, so they come to our stores. So then they're my biggest supporters. Imagine that. Lots of guns. This is the most dangerous thing that I've found, is the hot tapping into the electrical grids. Sometimes they're not even asking for a transfer. They're just hot tapping. I mean, it's hot, and they're tapping into it. And that's how they're draining the electricity out. Imagine trying to buy that house. My hazards to my first responders, we're all in Tyvek suits when we go in there. Now their big thing is they're pumping CO2 into the rooms. They're taking all the oxygen out to get that plant to grow faster. Right? So we've literally had law enforcement officers enter the room and pass out no oxygen. So now we're having to send the heroes in first. Any firemen in here? No, we send the firemen in there first to check for CO2 levels. Don't repeat that. I'm not being filmed tonight. My daughter just married a fireman. I think just to get my goat. Electrical problem, mold spores, extreme moisture, heat. We're not checking any of that. So look at all this hot tapping. Altered electrical systems. They're literally hot tapping into these things and blowing themselves up, starting fires. Look at all the tripping, entanglement hazards. some of the structural damage. This is the butane hash oil. They're blowing this butane into. Remember the stuff they were shaking up, or they were sweeping up on the ground? They call that shake. Back in the day, if I did or didn't smoke marijuana, that was what you threw away. Now they're so good, they're taking it all and they're putting it in tubes and they're compressing butane in there or propane. And out of the bottom is dripping into cake pans, what they call shatter. That stuff is in the 80 and 90 percentile of purity of THC. They're taking a little scalpel and cutting off just a square, putting it on a pin in a pipe. One hit, they're like a zombie. That's how incredibly powerful this thing is. The other problem we have, environmental problems, we don't know. Everybody's their own cook. I grow better weed than this guy, and I grow better weed than this guy, because I use this mixture of chemicals. So as soon as they buy their chemicals, they rip the labels off them so nobody finds out how they're cooking how they're fertilizing, right? So we don't know what it is. It's all hazardous material to us. They're dumping it straight into the sewers. They're literally taking bathtubs off. They're taking the bathtubs out and just dumping their pipes right down in the sewers. Chemicals, pesticides, we have no idea. Nobody's studying what it's doing to our water. These are some of the explosions that are trying to make butane hash oil. Almost everyone has surveillance. That's another clue. Who's got surveillance of industrial size? Yeah, probably a girl. Electrical jumping, huge air conditioning, talked about that. We're still getting our cartel grows. We get 1 or 2 a year, outside grows. We just took one last Tuesday down. Only 3 miles from the city limits. $3.9 million. They were just harvested. Arrested 9 Mexican nationals, 1 that was wanted by ICE. They're still there. Black market didn't go anywhere. The energy is not green. These are some of the countries, criminal organizations that we've actually identified. It's not anecdotal. There's the data. I'll show you the cases. Russia, Florida, Cuba, Argentina. What have we got? Oh, China. The big bus you saw in 60 Minutes, all that weed was going, that was from Laos. They were all going to Arkansas and Oklahoma. That was 21,000 plants in 5 different counties. El Paso, Bend, Pueblo, we had the most in ours. To Russia with Love, that was, they came in, paid cash for a house, and then their buddies were visiting from New York. Harvest. All right, this is the last slide, and we'll get you out of here. I'm sorry for keeping you so long. Our home invasions, 2 quick things. So the proponents of marijuana say crime has gone down since marijuana legalization, right? They're right. Law enforcement, everybody else will tell you crime has gone up since marijuana legalization, right? They're right too. It drives people nuts when I tell them that. So how they gauge crime in the criminal justice system is through the old UCR, Uniform Crime Reporting, or now it's called NIBRS. And that only takes into account 8 crimes. And I never can say them all. It's murder, manslaughter, assaults, robberies, thefts, arson, help me, Dan. Burglary. Anyway, there's 8 crimes, 8 major crimes. And that's what we reported to the FBI every year, and that's how they get Colorado stats, that's how they get my stats in Pueblo County. If you look at that, crime has been decreasing since the 70s. It has nothing to do with marijuana. But when they make that statement, technically they're right, with the exception of motor vehicle theft, which actually spiked over the last couple of years and will continue to spike as long as this stuff is around. Right? So one category has spiked. But if you look at the individual data, which we don't keep, we do, but law enforcement in general don't keep. We recoded everything to identify this marijuana. We're doing that across the state. I can show you a giant increase in what everything but those 8 crimes and what we call nuisance crimes. And I hate that word, but we call them nuisance crimes. I can show you a trend line that starts the day of legalization and goes out the roof, right, in my agency. And my guess is that every agency can show you the same if they would go gather that data. So that's kind of a tough one to fight. Yes, sir?
Actually, our latest data for 17 is showing a 20% increase in felony filings across the state in Colorado this year.
But I don't know how that affects NIBRS. I don't know how that's going to affect the numbers that they get at the FBI, because that's what citizens see. They say, oh, well, crime's down. All right, this is the last, one of the things we're increasing and is not contemplated in NIBRS or UCR are home invasions. because they're not necessarily put under burglary. This is Pueblo, Colorado, 2 years ago. This is what's happening in our community, and coming to a community near you. Listen to what they're yelling. Do you hear what they were yelling? Police, police. We found that guy the next morning in his attic. They were there to steal his marijuana grow. Just had a conviction up here. I think they just sentenced the guy yesterday. I think I read it to 80 years for shooting the 2 young kids who were coming in his yard to steal his grow. It's not just Pueblo, right? Questions, comments?
With regard to ICE, are you restricted now with cooperating with ICE because of the directions from the federal government?
No.
So
City
you
and
still
county of
hold-
Denver
you hold
are-
after bail?
No. We only does what the law allows.
Can you repeat the
The
question?
sheriffs. He was asking me about the ICE intervention. There's a great article in Police One right now by Sheriff Valerio over in Garfield County that really spells out our position on what we're doing. What happens is, in a nutshell, ICE detains them. If we hold them after bail, the courts have said ICE is not liable. The sheriffs are. And they've had some successful suits against sheriffs both in Philadelphia, in Pennsylvania, in Oregon, and soon, if we do what they want us to do, in Colorado. So we do exactly what the law allows us to do. We still call ICE, we still, well, just for example, the bus that did on Tuesday, Mexican Nationals, ICE was there. So there's no, it's a misnomer when they're talking about the sanctuary, number one. My jail's 157% overcrowded. 157, and I take nobody, I don't have to. So obviously, I don't take ICE prisoners. Because I don't have room. I don't take anybody else's prisoners either, because I don't have room. So I think that gets twisted around in the narrative from the media. And quite frankly, they have to change the law. We'd be more than happy to comply. And that's all sheriffs across the board, regardless of political affiliation. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
One of the videos you played, you said that the DEA was there with you.
Mm-hmm.
I guess my question is, how does DEA feel when you have Judge Sessions that says, Colorado, you stop, change this law, or we're gonna come and hit your growth places? We'll shut them down, but DEA will come in and drive right past the grove in Pueblo that has 22,000 plants to go hit a black market grow. How do they feel about that?
You know, you'd have to ask DEA. I gotta tell you, we're so busy right now, between my county and the county to the north, who's really started aggressively pursuing these black market folks as well. They're technically legal under the state of Colorado.
But not federal.
Well, but they've been told, that's like telling the DEA it can go kick in any dispensary. No, they won't. The Cole memo is still in effect. The Cole memo says what the provisions are as when DEA gets involved. Obviously I don't run DEA, but is that policy gonna change? Are they going to get rid of the Cole memo? Are they going to modify the Cole memo that's gonna change the atmosphere here in Colorado? I don't know. That's gonna be a legislative fix, but for right now, they are not going after quote-unquote legal grows, because they're legal under the state of Colorado's legislation, constitutional amendments. They are not going, that big grow that's outside of Pueblo, that's just one. We have a warehouse that has 4,000 inside, and they glow at night. They look like spaceships. You can't make this stuff up. Come to Pueblo, I'll show them to you.
Sheriff, you might want to describe what the Cole memo is.
The Cole memo was a federal letter that came through the Obama administration Justice Department that said basically, and I'm paraphrasing here, look, Colorado's gonna experiment with legalization of marijuana, and we're not gonna mess with it unless they violate 6 or 7 of these provisions. In my opinion, they violated them all, but my opinion doesn't matter.
Let me ask you your opinion on this. So in the last block I was in, they were talking about the marijuana, dispensaries being